This is so I've been talking about the Nightmare Court. It's probably obvious to you guys so far. This is about the birth of the Nightmare Court. And this is really, really good. I like this. They talk a lot again, and I talk a lot about them talking a lot about it, about having grey areas in the game. This is definitely one of those parts where I can see why there is an evil faction for the Sylvari. I can see the motives behind the Nightmare Court. I also love this thing here with Kaith sort of coming to the story, and she doesn't do any good here. She points out the obvious, that the Pale Tree doesn't really seem to care. Maybe the Pale Tree does care. Maybe this is one of those situations where they work in mysterious ways. But Kaith just says this very plainly, and she pisses off Cadian and causes something very, very big to happen as a result. And maybe it was a mistake, and I don't know whether she ever realises that that's a mistake or whether that'll be a part of the game. But it is really interesting. I like that. I like that because it shows Kaith is a flawed character. It's just, I think this is so well written. Definitely, I really, really enjoy it. So the next section is appropriately named The Nightmare Court. We start off with a quote from someone called Dagonet. "A true Sylvari should have two hearts. One soft and pliable as hot wax, and the other as hard and impenetrable as an icy diamond. The first he should show to his companions, the second to his enemy. Woe to the one for whom two are the same." The Nightmare Court are Sylvari who embrace the darkest parts of their nature, relishing a terrifying nightmare that contains as much horror as the dream holds inspiration. Their dark vigils are things of legends, filled with depravity, twisted courtliness, and sadistic tournaments that pervert Sylvari chivalry. Their greatest ambition, to turn the Pale Tree to nightmare. Oh wow, I just had a lot of tweets. I guess the embargo just lifted. It did just lift. Oh wow, okay, brilliant. So, it turns out the Yogg Scars were also in the beta. I'm going to be so distracted now. Sorry guys, no, we have to focus on this Sylvari. We're getting close to, well, yeah, we're getting kind of close to the end of the blog. So, the Nightmare, their greatest ambition to turn the Pale Tree to nightmare. These Sylvari reject the teachings of Ventari's tablet and claim that the influence of outside races perverted the true nature of the Pale Tree and the Sylvari. They seek the shadow within the dream, to turn away from what they deem false morality, and explore the darker side of their personality. Cold, cruel, and without mercy, they see themselves as true Sylvari, untainted by the influence of Ronan, Ventari, and the lessons of the tablet. They consider it to be their noble purpose to bring others of their race away from that forced behaviour and into darkness. I'm not sure. I'm not sure. I appreciate that they just assume that if you're not following the tablet, you're walking a dark path, because maybe killing the crate as young to save many lives when they're older isn't. Can you so clearly define that as darkness? It seems like a lot that the Nightmare Court are trying to do isn't necessarily just be evil for the sake of being evil. I hope that when we get in game, that is highlighted significantly, and it's not just, the Nightmare Court are evil people, go kill lots of them. That would suck. With each act of cruelty, they add even more nightmares to the tree and hope to one day change the balance, turning the mother to their side. So you see how they've taken this story that they established before about how the most emotional experiences of Sylvari go back to the Pale Tree. Well, this is really cool. It's like the Nightmare Court start torturing things. They start torturing other Sylvari so that all that pain and all that anguish goes back into the Pale Tree, so that new Sylvari that come out are born with that in them, and then they continue to inflict these atrocities on other Sylvari. It's a really, really, really cool concept, I think. Certainly, as the tree gathers emotions and memories, she draws from the Nightmare Court as well as their kinder brethren, and her pool of memory swells with both dark and light thoughts. The Nightmare Court believe that, if they can propagate more dark emotions, the pool will become more and more touched by nightmare, and new Sylvari will tend away from the ethics that were forced upon them by Ventari and his followers. In order to achieve this goal, the Nightmare Court commit acts of evil upon both Sylvari and non-Sylvari alike. When their own emotions become too jaded to be likely gathered into the tree, they rely on harming and tormenting other Sylvari and giving them memories, horrible emotions, and other traumas in the hopes that those memories will be sharp enough to be gathered. The more awful their crimes, the more likely it is that the Pale Tree will carry the memory into her well of emotions, passing those inclinations on to her next generation. The next section is called Titles of the Court. When a Sylvari joins the Nightmare Court, they are initiated into a ritual pageant designed to awaken the nightmare within their spirit. They spend time as a courtier, learning the ways of the Nightmare Court, acting as a servant to higher-ranking members, and studying ways to break free of the tablet's influence. They may choose to serve under a more senior member of the court, becoming a squire or an apprentice. Once they've earned the ability to spread nightmares on their own, they become a knight. This is what I was talking about before, how they kind of have these Arthurian ranks and stuff here. It's a knight's duty to spread fear and despair in the name of the Nightmare Court, creating traumatic memories and experiences that they hope will be taken into the Pale Tree and help to turn her and her as yet unawakened children away from the lessons of the Ventari's tablet. To further enhance the fear that they hope to create, they often take a title, and are called such during their time as a knight in the court. Such titles include Knight of Decay, Knight of Blades, Knight of Lies, or Knight of the Shattered Star. I really like this. I like how they give us some tangible information on how the faction works as well, not just sort of what it's based on in general. The highest ranks among the Nightmare Court are known as the Retinue, knights who have done well and are elevated into the retinue by the Grand Duchess Foulane, who rewards them with rank and position. Baron, Count, Countess, Duke and Duchess all bear responsibility and a great deal of respect within the hierarchy of the court. Some knights elect to retain the title that they choose for themselves as well, becoming the Countess of Blades or the Duchess of Frozen Snow. Alright, so here's something really interesting. We've heard about Cadiern, who pretty much forms the Nightmare Court, right? That might be established in this tiny little bit of story right here at the end. However, come Guild Wars 2's time, let's assume that happened like 15 years before the game. Come Guild Wars 2's time, Foulane, who is Kaith's lover, by the way. So Kaith inadvertently causes Cadiern to go off and form the Nightmare Court, but then, and Kaith has her own lover, Foulane, but then later on, Kaith's lover then turns to Nightmare while Kaith chooses not to, so that like becomes a split between them, and then Foulane overtakes Cadiern somehow. It's really interesting, isn't it? I love how that's all kind of tied together, and we have these big gaps at the moment in our knowledge of why this has happened and how things came to be the way they are come Guild Wars 2. It's really ironic that Kaith was one of the reasons why the whole faction formed, and in the end that became the thing that separated her from her true love. I think that's really, really cool. So yeah, we get another nice bit of concept art here. It's more kind of nightmare-y plants and stuff. There was another one earlier, which I probably would have thrown up. All of these titles are chosen to foster the legend and the myth of the Nightmare Court. The members choose to associate themselves with evil things, so even the sound of their names might trigger a response in other Sylvari. They prefer to leave their victims alive, if they are Sylvari, to further spread the stories of terror, as that only increases their hold within the dream. In the end, most Nightmare Courtiers believe they are justified in their actions. Like Cadiern, their founder, they seek to free the mother tree from the tablet and the lessons forced upon the Sylvari by the shadows of the past. The mother mourns her errant children, knowing that they can never return from the evil they have chosen. As new Sylvari go forth into the world, she reminds them to hold fast to the hero's path of honour, courage, chivalry and compassion, even as they strive for victory over the Elder Dragons. Truly, the Sylvari fight not only for their own souls, but for the spirit of Tyria itself. While that battle will be hard fought, the Pale Tree does not fear difficulty. Hard grounds make stronger roots. And then we get a last bit of the story. Before we go forward, I like tying this back into what I said before, and I was really happy actually. A lot of you guys seem to buy into my little theory about the Wardens and the Sylvari. Going back into that, I think it would be quite interesting if the Pale Tree, for instance, that formed the Wardens, maybe didn't have this, like these guys, the Sylvari we know, have had the tablet to influence them onto the path of righteousness, if you will. Maybe the one in the Echovald Forest didn't have that, and those Wardens were maybe going more by their own instincts. That could be quite an interesting turn, maybe. Some way that makes the Wardens be slightly different, but nonetheless still Sylvari. Okay, so then we got the last bit of story here, and there's another little bit of concept art right at the bottom. So, somebody is speaking, and it reads, "We gather in nightmare. We look to the darkest parts of our spirits. The covetous hand, the lying heart, the knife that betrays a friend. We call upon these, and we see their power. For what are we, in the end, if not creatures of power? It will take strength to defeat the dragons, and strength does not come by turning away any weapon, no matter how vicious or how cruel. We will use them all." Cadiern lounged on his throne with a careless, prideful slouch. A crown of golden vine glittered upon his forehead as courtiers bowed and whispered before him, hanging on Cadiern's every word, their eyes as lightless as the space between the stars. "We, the Sylvari, are the future. It is our time. We must leave behind the fears of awakening. Let go the stone that weighs us down. We were born to be more than this. We were born with a darkness in our dream and in our heart that we could embrace, if only the mother were not so afraid of the night. It is time to show her that her children are more than even she has dreamed we could be. If the Sylvari are to survive, we must learn from the poison thorn and the stinging nettle, the vine that crushes the very sapling which holds it to the light. We will raise the nightmare. We will see Tyria remade in our image. We will grow until nightmare swallows the world." And there you go. When I was editing the first part of this huge blog post, when I did those first 2 episodes on it, I was talking so much at the start. Oh, this is about the Nightmare Court, guys. This is about the Nightmare Court. And like both videos, the Nightmare Court didn't come into it at all. But now you see, I was not lying. It was about the Nightmare Court. That's actually a really, really good blog post. I'm beginning to feel just a tiny bit bad about saying like before, oh, I don't care if we don't do Sylvari week, whatever. So yeah, very, very enjoyable, guys. I hope you liked it. I'm going to stop now. There's so much beta stuff going on right now. It's unbelievable. I want to start doing some videos of it. I don't know. I'd like to be in a position where I could be like, oh, hey, guys. So this channel is giving you updates on all the different stuff that we've learned about the beta. But who knows if I'll be able to pull that off. I do have a week of work, so who knows. But yeah, right. So I don't know if this is going to fill up all of our dungeon footage. If it doesn't, I will edit in a little bit in a minute and say, right, we're going to do a bit more blog posts on that. But you can pretty much guarantee that for Sylvari week and all the other blog posts to come, not that there's that many, I don't think, we'll be doing some more run, guys. So I'm not sure I'll do videos every time I want to do another run. I feel like that would be a bit cheap and a bit lazy. So I'll probably be tweeting about it. I've never really been like, oh, please come follow me on Twitter. But just so you're aware, that is probably where I will go to get people to do stuff. So if you want to be a part of it, make sure that you're aware that that's there, and then you'll probably be able to get the updates as soon as they come out. So yeah, anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I'm very excited about all this beta stuff coming out. Madness Monday begins, and I will see you next time. See you later, everybody.